Hello and welcome to Sit Down with the Chief. We're here with editor Richard Steier, who's going to talk about the recent promotion of a controversial but very well-connected young man from emergency medical service to firefighter. Richard?
Well, Joseph Cassano is the son of a former fire commissioner, Sal Cassano. And back when his father was still running the fire department, he got himself into trouble because of some tweets in which he'd basically insulted blacks, had nasty things to say about Martin Luther King and President Obama, and also stated, "I like Jews about as much as I like Hitler," and then said, "Too soon." And essentially, if you were a psychiatrist, you'd say that either he was trying to embarrass his father or it was a cry for attention from his father. But in any event, he was forced to resign, which gave him the option of eventually coming back to EMS if he cleaned up his mind. And in 2015, 2 years after those tweets that led to him being forced out, he was accepted back as an emergency medical technician. He did not particularly like the job. That was another thing that he made clear in those tweets, complaining that there were too many, as he put it, Obama lovers who were depending on him to take them in their ambulances because Medicare wouldn't pay for cabs. And, you know, it was one of those situations where you would have figured if there was going to be noise about it, it would have been at the time that he came back to EMS. And there was a little ripple then, but here it's something which has really started to gather momentum. He was promoted on Sunday. On Monday, you had a bunch of elected officials out in front of City Hall calling on Mayor de Blasio to reconsider and to get rid of him. The mayor had said that he felt that people who were able to change their lives deserved the second chance. The big question in terms of this one was, this was a guy who basically had said that he hated his job and that he disliked some of the people who he served and done it in rather nasty terms. And when I asked a firefighter about this on Sunday, the day he was promoted, whether he would have had any chance of coming back to the department if his father wasn't who he was, he said, why would anybody be interested given that this guy had said the things that he'd said? And so you would always hold out the hope that he might actually have changed as opposed to simply being more discreet about the stupidity that got him into trouble. But it's also entirely possible that he simply figured out a way to game the system, and it's more of an issue with the firefighting side than it is with the EMS side, simply because of the racial problems that you've had over the years involving the fire department, and things like the black bed, which was still in existence in some firehouses as late as the 1980s, and the general commotion over the ruling by a judge a few years ago that the exam that would allow you to come in as firefighter had historically discriminated against black candidates, that there were two in particular, 1999 and 2002, that weren't particularly job related, and based on that he was throwing them out. He also threw out a 2007 exam that you couldn't make that claim about, but he said it had a disparate impact, and that undoubtedly got a lot of firefighters angry, and with some justification. Then again, some of these same people would have been upset simply about throwing out the 1999 and 2002 exams. The problem that they have in terms of making that argument, during the trial it was brought out that they had this special review committee that would take a look at people who had been disqualified for character issues, usually involving an arrest for something like domestic violence or driving while intoxicated, where they had the power to say, this person deserves another chance, let's overlook this. And the question there became, well, who is getting the benefit of the doubt in those instances? And it was a committee where you had the sense that it was senior officials who tended to be white, that the candidates were more likely to be white, because how else would they've come to the attention of those officials? And so that sort of blew a hole in the claim that we've always used the merit system straight down the line, and you shouldn't be bringing in things like culturally biased exams as a reason to bring on more black candidates. Well, the Cassano thing is one more nail in the coffin in terms of claiming that that it's nothing but merit that decides who gets in. That if this had been any ordinary firefighter, white or black, that once he was forced to resign, you wouldn't have heard from him again in terms of this type of a job.
Thank you, Richard Steier. Thank you for watching Sit Down with the Chief.